Hello everyone, my name is Cap and welcome back to the channel on another 7 Days to Die video. Now I'm doing all this on Alpha 16.4 on the PC, but that doesn't necessarily matter because today I'm going to show you guys something a little bit different. Earlier this last week I posted on the community tab on the main part of my page there, I asked you a question if you guys would be interested to see how I go about making the screenshots for my videos. I had quite a few people tell me that they really like how I make them, that they look really good, and I truly appreciate that compliment. And so I posted on there, and holy cow, I never expected so many people to vote. I did not know there was that many active people on this channel, and I don't mean that as self-deprecating, but it had like 1.1 thousand votes, and the majority of them were yes. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing this here. It's not really super complicated, but I do put a lot of effort into them. So I'm going to show you how to make the radiation zone screenshot like I did last time here. Okay, so I'm over here right on the edge of the radiation zone where I did quite a few tutorials, you know, solar banks, and there's a little house I built at the end of the radiation zone if you saw those videos. And so this is the sign I like to have kind of in the background. Now, one of the things you got to keep in mind that I'm using is the debug mode, which you just type in using DM. I did a full video on how to use the different kinds of controls and different commands and stuff like that, so I'm not going to go into great detail about it. But by having debug mode enabled, I can change the time, move it around as needed here, and so that'll help me be able to adjust the lighting. But the first thing we need to do is to get rid of the weather, so we'll turn weather rain 0, so it stops raining. Makes it a lot easier to see. And let's see, we'll go ahead and get rid of the clouds. Nice blue sky there, makes the light look up a little bit better here. Okay, so what I want to have in this screenshot that I'm going to plan ahead of time here is I want to have Sylvia, our lovely assistant. Let's see, we're going to get her right here, so we make sure she's going to look at me. I'm going to press the asterisk key above the number pad. That way she doesn't actually come after me, kind of marks her as inactive. So you see, she'll just kind of stand there now. See, she's just kind of stationary. And so I want to make sure I get her in proper lighting here. So, you know, we can go ahead and open this up and I can kind of move this around and see where the shadows are and get it so that there's a nice even shadow underneath her and plenty of brightness here. So that's how I go about doing this. Now, for those videos in which you've seen maybe like, you know, I'm in the video with her. Let's see, I'm over here. You know, one of the things that I don't have the ability to do is to, you know, keep my flashlight mounted where the camera is here. So normally I have my helmet light on here. That's what I use to point towards what I'm doing. You know, if I have it here, then it lights her up. But of course, if I move off to the side, then it doesn't. So what I'll do then, if I need some additional lighting in case I'm going to be there, is I'll use these little mobile spotlights here, the trash can lights. I just have it hooked up to the existing solar bank. It's not a big deal here. But what I can do is that way I can kind of move them around at different angles if I need to. I can put it up a little bit higher. So we'll see, you know, stack this one right up there. And then, you know, angle this one around so it's pointed right at her again. And then wire it in over here. Make sure this one's on. And now, when I get a little bit closer, I can turn mine off and it's not so bright. So, if I decide to go first person or third person mode and put myself back into the screenshot, you see it's fully lit up here. So I'm not necessarily going to specifically for this one, but I just want to show you guys that, you know, a lot of time goes into making sure just the lighting is right. And also something to do is, if you're doing this, to keep in mind on your framing, because I know how I make my screenshots, how I do the processing, so it's one of those, I want to make sure I get it exactly right. So I want that sign to be in there, and I want her in there, and I'm going to blow it up a little bit. So I'll make sure the camera is stationary. I'll go into third person mode, that way I can hide myself. In case I need an additional light, you can see my flashlight moving around, but I'm going to turn it off since it's pretty well lit. And I'll press F7 to go into, you know, hide the HUD mode stuff. Now, of course, she's bobbing around and it takes a little while, so what you can do is you press F9 to use the screenshot here. So I'll wait till she's kind of looking up, you know, kind of moving around, and I'll do a couple of them here to see if I can get a good angle. Okay. So that's a lot of what goes into trying to make sure you get the proper lighting here. So there's a lot going on behind me when I take these screenshots. But it's not super complicated. It's just more or less about framing, finding exactly what you want in the background. Okay, so let's jump over to the editing side of things. Alrighty then, now I use GIMP, which is the GNU image manipulation program. This one's completely free. You can Google it if you want to download it. I started using this a good long time ago when I couldn't afford to buy Photoshop. Now I do have a copy of Photoshop that I could use, but I know this one well enough that this is what I prefer to use. So this is what I'm going to be doing it in. The concepts will work in pretty much any higher end editing program, so if you want to try to do this in Photoshop, it's pretty much the same. I'm just doing this in GIMP. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll go into my Steam Games folder under 7 Days to Die, and this is where all my different screenshots will be. So then I'll just open up and see the ones that I took here. Let's see, oh, I like that one the best. Okay, so the very last one was the one that I like. Okay, so what I'll do from there is just open it up straight into GIMP. Minimize that. Okay. So this is what we have to work with here. This is the screenshot that we took. Pretty much looks pretty good, not too bad. The first thing I'm going to do with this is I go through and adjust the size a little bit. So just use the rescaling here, because if you look up in the corner of this thing, it's always got the version number of the game in there, which is not bad, but I always like to hide that. And because I usually do my framing so I know where she's at, so I want to blow it up to make it as big as possible so that she's kind of the center point of this picture. And then it just kind of scooch it back over. And like I said, I know where I like to put my overlays and my text and stuff, so I'll kind of angle things around based on where I know I'm going to put some stuff. So we'll put her about right. Let's just put her dead center. Okay, and if I need to resize her a little bit more, I can. It's not really a big deal. Here, just blow it up just a little bit more. Resizing is going to be based on individual thing. It's not like a percentage. Okay, that's pretty good right there. She looks nice and good there. Okay, so then what I'm doing is I'm going to add a filter to enhance it. And go here and sharpen it. Now there's not a set amount I use every time, but I'll try and figure out what the focal point is for this particular picture. And I've discovered in 7 Days to Die adding about a 50 plus filter makes it look nice and crisp and sharp here, because especially when she's moving around, it makes it a little bit hard. If you zoom all the way in, that's not where I meant to zoom, but you know, who cares? When she's moving around, it makes it a little bit blurry, but that's not a big deal. Then what I'll do is I'll go under the colors menu and go down to levels, and under the input values and stuff here for the black level, I'll add some more to the black, and it kind of brightens the color a little bit. See, it kind of makes everything just a little bit brighter, a little bit easier to see. And then do the same thing for brightness and contrast. I add just a little brightness to it, a little bit of contrast to kind of sharpen up some of the colors. We'll do a little bit less. There we go. Since I had additional lights on here, I don't want to have it super, super bright so it washes it out completely. Alright, so that's what we have this. Okay, that should be pretty good right there. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up and add a new layer at the same time here. Now, under my video section where I have all this, I have everything kind of organized. So I have all my images I use for games and stuff, these songs, sounds, things like this that I'm using. I know where everything's at. And I already have a PNG file of the 7 Days to Die logo. This one I downloaded. It's pretty easy to find. So you can see it over here. It creates itself as a new layer. And I have it on top of it here, because obviously if I move it down here, it's behind it. But you can see when I hide this, there's no background to it. It's got an alpha channel, so it's kind of overlaid. And of course I don't want it that big, so I'll shrink it down just a little bit in size. And on this one, I'm going to put it over in the top left-hand corner. I usually do the top right, but because we have that green sign right over here that we're going to use, I don't want to cover it up. So we'll rotate it just a smidge, just kind of adds a little bit of flair to it. And I like to line the corners of the words up with the edge of the stage here. It just kind of looks nice. And then while on that specific layer, I'll go in to the brightness and contrast there and jack the contrast up to just a little bit, because it brightens the yellow and the brownish in the words, kind of makes it pop a little bit more. So we have that layer sitting on top of it. Now we're going to add another text layer. Switch it over to white. Now the font I prefer to use, that I use almost always, is called Impact Condensed. Now this one I just Googled it one day and downloaded it. I've been using it for years, but it's just a free one. So then I'll drag out the text that I want to use down here and just type in radiation zone. We'll just do it that way. And then of course, increase the size of the text until it fits where I want it to be. Move it over here just a little bit, kind of get it centered the way I want. And we're pretty much good as far as placement goes. Now, what I always do is on the text is I'll go through on the layer, go under transparency, and do an alpha to selection. This will select everything around. It'll basically select the border inside and out around all the letters. So you got the nice little marching ants things. That just selects everything except for the alpha channel part. And then from here, I'll do a select and grow. And this is going to force a selection to grow a little bit. Now, I usually do a 6 or a 7, depending on how many letters. If there's a lot of words, so it's really small font, I usually do 5 or 6. But for this one, I'm going to do 7. So then I'll go back down to the background layer over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an edit. I'm going to fill with the background color, which is black. And so it's creating a copy, basically, of the text radiation zone, blowing it up a little bit, and pasting it right behind it. So if I undo, you can see it's still highlighted. I'm going to do a redeal, And then I'll just deselect everything so it's still hidden a little bit. So I can hide this text, and you can see it just creates a solid black in the background with the white on top of it, makes it nice and pretty. And then I do the same thing with the 7 Days to Die logo up there. I'll go under the transparency, alpha to selection, and when I do a grow on this one, I only do 2 because it's kind of small and I don't want to have this really gigantic, robust layer around the back of it here. So I just do 2, fill it in with the background color, and then deselect, and we have everything. We're good to go. And you can see this is pretty good by itself, but what I like to do is add a little bit of flair to it if I can. Like in the original thumbnail I used for the video, I changed this to a radiation sign, as if just to let you know where it was at. So what I did was, let's see, go to the background layer. I used the color dropper basically so I can get the color to get kind of one of these little green, just kind of one of the greens. It doesn't necessarily matter. And then I used the airbrush tool. Blow the size of this up just a little bit here so it doesn't take so long. Go a little bit bigger. And I also applied a jitter to it. That way it's not just a real thick painting and stuff. And then what I did was I just kind of painted over the letters here. It doesn't have to be dramatic. This is just for a thumbnail, and most people aren't going to see in great detail. So let's fast forward this. Okay, it doesn't have to look super pretty. When you blow it in, you can see it doesn't really look that great, but on YouTube thumbnail, when it's blown out, zoomed out to this size, it doesn't look too bad. And then what I did was I have already downloaded another image I'm going to use here. So go back under my videos, tools, images, and I'll look for my radiation logo. Put this on here. Go ahead and convert it. You can see it's quite large as is, but it's really nice high definition radiation zone sim. So drag it down to a little bit smaller size and put it over here on the sign. Resize it some more so that it fits. And that should be pretty good. It will kind of put it off screen just a little bit so that it looks like it's kind of in the center of the sign here. And then what I did was I would use the smudge tool, a little bit of a smaller thing around here. Zoom in on this side and just kind of around the outside of it here. And that's just to make it look a little bit more weathered, like it's been sitting here for a while, because the rest of the sign is kind of messed up and faded. And there we go. It doesn't have to be anything specific. I'm doing kind of a quick version. When I'm doing the actual thumbnails themselves, I'll spend a little bit more time trying to make sure the detail is, nice and good. The feathering around things is a little bit more. But that's pretty much how it goes there. And then, of course, then I would just do a save as, and save it as just a JPEG. Now, I do everything in 1920 by 1080, so that matches the video size. And that's the biggest thing that you can do in YouTube as far as actual thumbnail size. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit, just widen the window out here, move the tools off to the side, and this is what the end thumbnail looks like. Now, just a side note, whatever, if you've seen it pop up in the cards, and if you follow me on Twitter, I was talking about it, I have a merchandise store and stuff, and I have actual t-shirts on there, and I have one that says Sylvia tested, Cap approved, because she's our go-to when it comes to testing. She's very beneficial. So if you can put your seal of approval and your stamp of approval on something, let her know that she's tested it and I've given the approval. And the link to that, as always, of course, is in the cards on the top of the video and in the video description down below if you want to. Not a big deal. Don't feel obligated to, but it's there as just an option. So anyway, like I said, I can't believe there was as many people that liked the video. So anyway, I can't believe there was as many people that voted on the question that I posted on the community tab as they did. I was really kind of shocked by that, but I'm very thankful for that. I'm truly humbled that there was that many people actually respond. And the people that left comments on there, they left some really awesome comments. And even the few people that left comments that said no, that they didn't want to, left awesome comments on there. And that's totally fine. You don't have to be down for absolutely everything. You can disagree with certain things and whatever, but being cool about it will help you stay in my mind as far as a cool person, and so your opinion matters. So anyway, hopefully this was at least halfway useful to some of you guys that, maybe looking to do something of your own like this. But this is what I go through when I'm doing this. It usually takes me longer to set up in-game to figure out what I want it to do for the perfect screenshot to make sure it captures what I'm showing in the video And of course, then the editing, I have my methods down so it doesn't take me 5 minutes once I have the screenshot. But getting all the lighting and, making sure the zombies are in the right spot, and that takes a little bit longer. There's a lot of work goes into it. I'm not the greatest. I don't claim to be. There are people who make way better thumbnails than me, but I have had enough people to say that mine were awesome and thought it'd be kind of cool to show you guys how it looks. So anyway, if you have any additional questions, drop in the comment section down below, and of course for ideas for future videos, I'm always open to new ideas there, so be sure to leave me those. If you found the video entertaining or useful or whatever, do me a favor and leave a thumbs up on the video, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you so much for all the love and support. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.